Hi everybody, it's Miss Deb again. I'm here for our Cooking Wednesday. Today I'm going to be making some Rice Krispie treats. Thought about trying to make them into snowmen, but the way I make them, they would turn out to be kind of like dirty snowmen. So I think that maybe we'll just make Rice Krispie treats. I like to always add a little peanut butter and chocolate because that's the way my family likes to eat them. If you don't want to add them, then the recipe is just the same. You just don't add peanut butter or chocolate chips. And then when you're done with them, you can shape them into things or make cutouts of them. I usually just put them in a pan. So the very first thing that I always do is you'll need a lot of cooking spray with this because it's very sticky in the end. So I use it in the pan and I use it on my hands. So first thing I do is I spray the pan down just so it doesn't stick in the pan. And then that's all ready to go when we're done, because when you're done it's going to be sticky and it's going to harden up kind of fast, so you want that to be all ready to go. The next thing I do is I put my Rice Krispies in my big bowl. Here's this giant bowl again. I think I used it for puppy chow. I use this a lot when I make these no-bake desserts. So I've already used this once, so I usually use about a half a bag. I think they say 5 to 6 cups of Rice Krispies, so I usually measure the first one out and then I just pour the rest of it into the bowl. And then this is where I always add the chocolate chips into the Rice Krispies. I don't melt it into it. That way it's not just totally dark chocolate when you mix everything together. So I guess if you had to measure, I usually do probably a couple handfuls of chocolates. Today I'm using some mini chocolate chips. You can use regular chocolate chips or milk chocolate chips or anything else you want. Even if you like butterscotch or anything like that, make scotcheroos. That's how you would make those too. So now that's all ready for when we get everything melted. So there's a 1/4 of a cup of butter. That's a half a stick. That's already cut and ready to go in the bowl. And the first thing you want to do is melt that because you want to coat the marshmallows. And we'll put that in the microwave for like 30 seconds or so. And let that start to melt, because once that's melted, then you'll put your marshmallows in there and you'll be able to coat all those marshmallows, because marshmallows have a tendency to like to poof up in the microwave. And when they poof up, they like go all the way over. So here's our butter. It's pretty well melted. It's starting to get warm in there. So that'll be enough to coat our marshmallows. And for this, you use a whole bag of marshmallows. The whole thing. So in that goes. And then I usually mix all this up to try and coat those marshmallows, because like I said, otherwise this whole thing would expand all out above this whole bowl and make a big mess in your microwave. So they're already trying to escape. So when it looks like you pretty much have a little bit of butter on all those marshmallows, that looks like it's pretty well coated. And my first round is always a minute. We'll see how that looks after a minute. It's usually a couple of rounds of microwaving that I have to do. So Rice Krispie treats I've been making for a long time. My kids used to like them just plain, but now we try different things. We've made them with cocoa puffs, not Cocoa Puffs, the chocolate rice cereal, Cocoa Pebbles. You can make it with the Fruity Pebbles if you like those. And like I said, you can put the butterscotch in them if you like, instead of chocolate chips, and no peanut butter if you just like peanut butter. Some people just put peanut butter in them and they just put the chocolate chips on the top of it when they're done and make a chocolate topping for it all. So there's lots of different ways you can do them. Your choice. Forgot the peanut butter. Let me get the peanut butter out too. Because we're going to want to put peanut butter in after this. Usually I melt that with the butter, but that's okay. You can do this a lot of different ways. And you can see our marshmallows have kind of poofed up just a little bit. There, they're all the way to the top. But because the butter's in there and coating them all, look at, they just mashed down right away. So let's get a spoonful of peanut butter in there. And once again, this is one of those, I just eyeball it. It's usually between a half a cup and a quarter of a cup. We're peanut butter eaters, so we'll take closer to a half a cup. Because we're going to have to melt this down again, that heat in here will start to melt that peanut butter right away. There's lots of melted butter at the bottom. But you can see the marshmallows haven't quite melted all the way because you can still see lumps in them. You can still see those lumps. It's not quite binding like it normally does, so one more time in the microwave should get it to the point, and the first time was about a minute on my microwave, and the second time will be about 30 seconds. I don't know, it's still not too late to make snowmen if maybe we're still thinking about it, but I don't know. Just the appearance of them aren't going to be very appetizing, so I'm kind of thinking I'll just put them in a pan. So peanut butter's done, and I'm going to keep the spray out because once we get done mixing this all together, I spray my hands, and then my hands get all gooey, but then it keeps it from sticking to the Rice Crispie treats, and then I can push them down in the pan the way they're supposed to be pushed down. So here it is. It poofed up just a little bit that time, but not quite as much as it did the first time. And you'll see it'll all become one big consistent color. All those marshmallows should finish melting. You can still see there's a couple of marshmallows in there, but I think this is going to be warm enough to melt everything. And you can see how nice and smooth this has all turned out. I don't see any white marshmallows in there anymore. So then you're going to want to pour all of this in your Rice Krispies and chocolate chips if you choose. And then you just fold that in. You'll see it. It kind of looks like just a big lump of the marshmallowy stuff on the top. And I just take and start folding it in. And this is where it starts to cool off pretty quickly. So you're going to want to try and get that all mixed up as fast as you can. And then because it's so warm, it's going to melt the chocolate chips in here. And that's why it starts to turn like a brownish color, which it's not completely all brown, but a lot of it is. You don't really have to take a lot of stirring. You can see when it all starts to stick and you start seeing these little, almost like little lines of marshmallowy stuff starting to, and you can see it is starting to harden up along the sides here. So here's my pan, and then I just glob the whole thing in a pan, because the next step you'll be able to put it where you want it and push it around a little bit more in the pan. All right, and then this is the part, is the kind of the fun part. I always spray my hands, rub them together, and then you just go and you push it down. See how that is? You can just push it wherever, and look at there, it doesn't stick to my hands at all. And if you don't have the spray, you can always use a little bit of cooking oil or a little bit of butter anything that makes your hands non-stick. And these stay soft for just a little while, but as soon as they cool down, you just leave them out on your counter. And voila, there's our Rice Krispie treats. All done, ready to cut in probably about 20 minutes to a half an hour. Enjoy your winter day. Go ahead and try it, and try and make some snowmen with it. With your hands like this, you can form them into balls and they don't stick. Or if you want to take a cookie cutter or even just a glass or something and poke into that, you can make circles and make a snowman on a plate or something if you'd like. Anyway, see you later.